1. Introduction. Introduce. My name is Muhammad Rizki Suhendro from the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, International Relations, Al-Azhar, Indonesia, Regional Studies courses with lecturers, MRS. Yulia Amalia. I will explain the region of Southern Africa. Part 2. Geographic. The South African region is defined as a group of countries that stretch from the northernmost point of Tanzania to the southern tip of the Cape Province in the Republic of South Africa. South Africa is a huge landmass, about 6.8 million square kilometers, bordered by the Indian Ocean to the east and the Atlantic Ocean to the west. The distance from the northern border of Tanzania to Cape Town, at the southern end of the continent, is about 4,000 kilometers. This region resembles Australia in the size of its landmass and is the same distance as crossing Australia from Cape York to Promontory Wilson. Countries part of the continent: Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Swaziland, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Brief history. Entry of Europe. The discovery of diamonds in 1867 and gold in 1886 promoted economic growth and immigration, intensified the conquest of the indigenous people, which led to the Boer War and finally the formation of the South African Union. The history of South Africa and its relationship with its South African neighbors is a complicated history, largely due to British expansionist desires. It is often the white population that reaps the benefits of the export of natural resources, such as diamonds and gold. They control private property as well as the police and armed forces. Among the white settlers themselves there was a division by class and ethnicity. The political struggle among whites was bittersweet, especially in South Africa, Southwest Africa, and Southern Rhodesia. In South Africa in 1934, the South African Party and the National Party merged to form the Unity Party, seeking reconciliation between Afrikaners and the English-speaking white people, but split in 1939 due to the Union's entry into World War II as an ally of the United Kingdom, a move strongly opposed by the National Party. In 1948, the National Party was elected to power, and began to implement a series of harsh segregation laws that became known collectively as apartheid. Throughout the South African region, independence movements began to emerge in the 1950s. While South Africa sought the annexation of Lesotho, Botswana, and Swaziland, these countries were ultimately able to secure their own elected governments. Malawi and Zambia gained their independence in the 1960s, through strong and diplomatic leadership, while Angola and Mozambique experienced an all-out war before gaining their independence. Namibia did not gain independence until the 1990s. South Africa's apartheid system is becoming increasingly controversial, leading to widespread sanctions and divestment abroad and increased unrest and repression in South Africa. In 1990, the National Party government lifted the ban on the African National Congress and other political organizations, and released Nelson Mandela from prison. In 1995, they removed the apartheid law from the law book. The state of the economy. Despite greater political stability in the South African region, it still faces enormous economic challenges, as is the case across Africa. Africa has been hit hardest by the global recession. Total international aid to Africa has fallen since 1990, and Africa's share in world trade, by 2%, is declining. 17 World Vision News reports that there is a growing international perception that Africa cannot help. 18.1 Submission argues that Australia is most visible in Africa through humanitarian operations, assistance, and the construction of non-governmental organizations. 19 The submission states that geopolitics. South Africa can now claim to be one of the most democratic regions in Africa, with successful multi-party elections in Malawi, Mozambique, and Zambia, Namibian independence, and South Africa's transition to multiracial democracy. However, care must be taken to guard against complacency, as peace in Mozambique and Angola is fragile. Africa has had many examples of emerging democracies overwhelmed by military dictatorships or ethnically inspired ones. As SADC countries move towards a democratic system of government, their methods of governance and issues related to the implementation of public policies become more aligned with the Australian experience. The committee believes that Australia has an important role to play in supporting countries conducting democratic elections and to promote good governance among SADC countries through dialogue and technical assistance.
Regional. Southern Africa Development Community, SADC, link is external. Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMSA. Southern Africa Development Community SADC. The Southern African Development Community, SADC, was a Memorandum of Understanding on Common Economic Development signed in Lusaka, Zambia, on April 1, 1980. It is formalised as the Lusaka Declaration, entitled Southern Africa, Towards Economic Liberation, ratified by the 9 signing states, Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Swaziland, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Some of the main goals for the member states were to be less dependent on apartheid South Africa and to introduce programs and projects which would influence the Southern African countries and whole region. Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa CUMSA. CUMSA's current strategy can thus be summed up in the phrase economic prosperity through regional integration. With its 21 member states, population of over 583 million, a gross domestic product of $805 billion, a global export/import trade in goods worth $324 billion, CUMSA forms a major marketplace for both internal and external trading. Geographically, CUMSA almost 2/3 of the African continent with an area of 12 million sqkm